Welcome back everyone to more game development of the game which still has no name, but it's gonna be amazing. So today I thought it would be a good idea to maybe show you, because I think it's gonna be interesting for some people if you're doing game development yourself and you're watching this, which might be a reason to watch this in the first place. I thought it would be cool if I show the workflow that I use from Blender to Unity. Everything I do, because I think that there's a lot of things that you don't find in usual Blender tutorials, because people don't talk about these things, because people just do, I don't know, 3D models in Blender or something. They usually don't go all the way to Unity. That could be cool. But first off, let's look at what we've done since last time and what I'm working on, stuff like that. So let's jump into Unity. Let's run the game. Oh, before we run the game though, we need to drop some cool items. Because I've actually added in, again, the bags. I don't know if you remember the bag system. That was on the first devlogs where I came up with this system. Essentially, it's gonna work a little bit like how it works in World of Warcraft. I don't know if it works like this still, because I haven't played World of Warcraft in how many years? 15 years, something like that. Oh, I did play vanilla though. A little bit of vanilla. For like 1 month. Anywho, you have bags, and you need bags. Every bag, of course, has slots where you can put things in. And if you don't have any bags, you don't have any place to put anything in, which kind of makes sense, I think. So, in that case, I think we're gonna go to the item spawner, which is also fixed. It's not bugged anymore. Hopefully. Hopefully it's not bugged. It wasn't bugged last time. So I thought there we would add in some cool items, like for instance, a belt. We're gonna add in the Crusader's belt. And then we're gonna add in 2 bags. Bags, where are the bags, Chris? The bags are here. The bags. Perfect. Oh, wait, variation 3. That's not gonna work, I think. I think it's gonna crash. This. Yep. There is a variation. This is very complicated to explain why there's a variation thing there. So I'm not gonna explain that. By the way, I'm also upside down. It's my new thing is being upside down. In every episode, I'm upside down. So, now we have some items dropped here. First of all, let's check out the belt. So now if you equip a belt... Ooh, by the way, first thing that I've changed. Look at this. Everything is now neatly aligned here on the grid. The last time they just overlapped and looked like crap. But now things drop on the same square, they kind of align neatly and nicely, I think. So that's good. That's very good. Next thing I fixed is the slots are more... like they're easier to see, and also if you hover over a slot, it says helm slot, light armor slot, light armor slot, maybe I'll have a better name for that. Light leg armor slot, also if you have OCD, by the way, you will be very irritated by the fact that all these descriptions are like 4 pixels or 5 pixels too much to the left. That's a little bit annoying, I know, a little bit annoying. That's my phone, by the way, which has the Zelda voice. So, yeah, that's the first change. Next change, if I pick up the belt there and I put in the belt, we're gonna get some belt attachment slots. And now, of course, it says belt attachment slot, which is really nice. And then if we have a bag here, and we equip the bag, we get bag contents. I think these bag contents, they look a little bit weird. They look like a, I don't know. I'm thinking of like a South Park character or something with a mouth, blah, 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 blah. You know what I'm talking about. I'm not crazy, guys. I'm not crazy. It doesn't look that good yet, but I'll find a better icon for it later. But you get content slot, and of course you can put anything in that content slot. So if I take up this piece of armor, I can put it in the content slot. Anything can be, of course, put into the bag. But these things, of course, don't provide any bonuses because they are in the bag, so it wouldn't make any sense. Else you would just put all the good items in the bag and you will have a million stats and stuffs. Also, I have not yet fixed the stats system. I'm working on the stats system, and when that stats system works, these things are gonna be updated. Still, these things do not work. They don't show the correct numbers yet, so that's gonna be fixed later. So you can put it there, but then we're gonna put it back on the ground for the time being. We're gonna pick up the chainmail armor. Oh, by the way, also, these things have physics. Very hard to see with this thing. If I move this to this slot, it's a little bit easier to see. Also, it's a little bit dark, but you can see it's kind of floop, floop. You can see it hangs on his belt. Yeah, that took like 5 hours to make that work properly. How do you do that, by the way? I'm using what is called a spring joint in Unity. So if you want to have this for yourself, I can show you exactly how I do this in like a minute or so. There's some other things I also want to show. So there's the bags, and you have the contents here, of course. And that's why the bag slot or the belt slot is on the bottom here, because the bottom will essentially be your inventory. And then you move up here, and here you have things where you equip stuffs. So next I wanted to show you the socketed shoulder. It has a couple of socket slots, and here we actually have a socket, so I'm gonna put in a socket. And of course everything appears on the character, so the socket appears there. And these sockets, you can put crystals in. The crystals are gonna give bonuses to the item, to the parent item, which is equipped in. But since I don't want it to give the bonus to the sockets have a special ability called Conduit, which says any bonuses or penalties affecting this item also affects the item that it is slotted into. So it means that if I now put a crystal here, and this crystal, let's say this crystal has like the item that it's slotted into gets 30% on all its stats or something like that, then that doesn't affect the crystal socket, but it does affect the socketed shoulder. So let's say this has 10 armor, then you get an extra 3 armor from this crystal. That's kind of the idea, that these things, mostly the items are quite simple in what the stats that they give, because if they're complicated and you have an inventory with 100 items, you're gonna have no idea what's going on. So they're quite simple, but they buff each other. That's the idea behind the system. So I think it looks a little bit cool. And of course, these crystals can not only be equipped here. These socketed slots can be equipped in a lot of different places. And also there are things which comes with the sockets already applied on them. So, as for instance, you can find there's going to be a rare drop or something. Now all the drops have the same colors and everything, but I'm going to change, of course, the item pop-up here and have different colors for different rarities and stuff like that. But the Crystal Master Socketed Sword has 3 crystal sockets, so you can now add in a crystal here on the sword, and of course it appears on the sword, as everything appears in this game. As you can see though, when I equip something, this is another bug, it recreates all the bag slots. So if I put a crystal in here, I can see that the bag is like because it creates it one more time, and that's another bug to work on. Though this bug that we had last time, I think it's gonna, yes. Now if I hover over the coffin, but I'm over the inventory screen, it doesn't show the coffin here. So that bug is resolved, that's pretty good. Also there are healing potions in the game, but they don't do anything. It says consumable, but it doesn't do anything. So these of course are gonna heal you, you're gonna be able to drink them. And I'm thinking of adding, oh by the way, I didn't really talk about this. This character here, it's difficult to see though, but it's like a succubus statue kind of thing. And I thought I'd add like a separate thing for potions. Maybe, I don't know what button would be great for potions. P for potion. And then you can drink healing potions with a button also. So you don't have to go with your inventory, right click and press drink or something. Because that's gonna be a little bit annoying, I think. So it would be cool if you had a hotbar shortcut thing alternative for it. Would be nice, I think. So there was something I talked about doing here, wasn't there? Yeah, how I wanted to show you how the bags are equipped. So we can do this. We can stop and we can look at the character, and let's see here. Here we can see what's actually going on with these things. So the character doesn't have any, or hardly any colliders. It has 3 colliders, 1 for each leg and 1 for the torso. And then these things here are just attached with a spring joint to this thing, to this collider, which is just the body collider. And that's how they have physics. And it looks a little bit cool when you walk around and the things actually move, when they're not just this. Chris, your English skills are amazing. I know. If you want an English course, you can check down below. It would be amazing if I had an English course there, but it's not an English course down there. I think that's all I wanted to show you. in the game what's going on. So next time, hopefully, I will have fixed the stats system, and stats will actually show on your character which are the actual stats that you have on your character. But that's a work in progress. So now for the important part, my workflow. Hopefully there's gonna be a timestamp down to the workflow if people are only interested in the workflow. But here it is. This is what I'm gonna do. We're gonna take away Unity and then we're gonna go into Blender. So here's how I have everything set up in Blender. It looks like a complete mess, and that's because it kind of is a mess. But also, there's a reason to this madness here, which is this character. This is a character, as you can see right now, has of course every item in the game equipped to it at the same time. And then these, of course, items which can be put on separate positions. These things right here are just hovering about him. But here's the reason to my madness here. Here's how everything checks out. So first of all, these yellow things, as you can see, these are just to try out where the slots are gonna be, where the socket slots. As you can see, these are the possible positions that the bags can be in. And these things, we're not gonna import the models for these things. We're only gonna import the positions, because we're only interested in essentially this, the location, the rotation, and maybe the scale of these things. So that's what all the yellow things are. These are just position markers where things can be, and they have a model just so they can see how it looks on the model when things are attached to them. That's the first thing. Then we have 2 models for everything, for every piece of gear, at least 2, usually more. So everything has, as you can see here, if we go to the character, Chris, can you find the character? I can find the character. Yes. So here are all the socket slots, and they're all named _socket. That's very important, because when we eventually import this into Substance Painter, we need to select everything that... Okay, why do we do this? Okay, so we have one thing called low and one thing called high of every item. So let's say we go to this visor here. We can buy it, okay. Visor, we have a visor teeth low and a visor teeth high. And why do we have that? That's because in Substance Painter, we don't want to do hardly any work at all in Substance Painter. So we want all the normals and everything to be baked in Substance Painter. So we have a low polymesh, which is this low version there. It's gonna be a little bit annoying to see, I think, if I don't take away a couple of these. Okay, now we can probably see the... Okay, so here's the low poly version. I'm going to edit mode and see how it looks. It could probably be very much optimized. It's not perfect, but the thing is, since I have this smirt system here, it's very easy for me to make a change. Let's say okay, this doesn't really work with an item there, so I want to, for instance, move this down a little bit, make it look like this. That kind of works though. Looks a little bit cool, I would like that. Anywho, I can do that because it's so easy. I don't need to do any work in Substance Painter, essentially, except to export 2 files. I'm gonna export one file with all the low poly meshes, like this mesh right here. And then there's always a version which is a high poly mesh. Go into the high poly mesh and we look at the vertices. You will see that usually it's just some borders added and stuff like that. Very, very simple. And usually it has a modifier called the subdivision surface. This did not have it though, because I wanted it to look more like sharp, angular kind of thing. So this item also looks like crap, so probably wasn't the best example to take. But anywho. So we have a low poly mesh and we have a high poly mesh. And the high poly mesh is also... Let's take a good example with the high poly mesh so we can see an item which has a lot of colors or something. Let's take away... Let's see this item. We have so many items here. Chest plate high. Let's take away these things. Chest plate high and low. So all the high poly meshes also have vertex colors, which means that if you go into this object right here, it's a high poly mesh and it also has vertex paint on it. So I've painted it, as you can see, green and blue. Why have I painted it green and blue? will this not look very crappy? Well, the thing is, in Substance Painter, we're gonna use the vertex color to know where to put different materials. Because in Substance Painter, we're essentially not gonna do any work. We're just gonna drag one smart material that I've already prepared, which has a selection for vertex colors in it. So it's just gonna go down, okay, this is green, that means this type of metal. It's blue, it means this type of metal. It's just gonna map everything automatically for me, so I don't need to do essentially any work in Substance Painter if I make any changes here and I want to take that into the game, those changes. So all the high poly meshes have vertex colors. All the low, and then we export 2 files. So we're gonna export the we're gonna export our 3 files. First of all, we're gonna take everything that's _low, and we're gonna take all those objects. We're gonna select them with this little cool tool. If you didn't know about this tool, this is very useful when you have a million items like this. We can go select pattern, select _low. Now we have everything which is the low poly meshes. And then what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna space smart UV project, and every item is already set up so that everything has the correct... let's find an item so we can see this. The correct seams is one, right? So let's go to this. I think this Power Shield has a lot of seams on it. Power Shield low. So if we go into... all the low poly meshes have these seams. So this is where the texture is going to cut. So usually you want to put these cuts in places where you can't really see too well. But I think you want as many cuts as possible, because the more cuts you have, the tighter you can pack the textures. So it's very good to have a lot of seams, but at the same time, the more seams you have, on the seams, there is a chance that it's gonna look a little bit shitty on the seams, where the textures don't meet perfectly. So I usually try to add all these seams in places where you can't see them. Like, for instance, here, it's very difficult to see inside of it. So it's the perfect place to have a seam there. So that's how I have prepared everything. I've set everything up with low poly meshes, high poly meshes. The high poly meshes also have vertex colors on them. And then I have a text file on my computer which just says, because it's very hard to remember every color. Like, it's easy when it's green and blue, but there's like shades of blue and shades of green and brown and everything. And all these corresponds to different materials in Substance Painter. That's how I have it set up. So then when I'm done with this, I export the high poly meshes, the low poly meshes, plus the sockets, because that's going to be the file that's imported in Unity. And then I go into Substance Painter. And when we're in Substance Painter, that's here, that's Blender. Substance Painter. There it is. Here we have the model in Substance Painter. And I've already gone ahead and baked all the maps here, because this takes a literal million years. Unfortunately, I can't show you, because if I press bake mesh maps here, there is a window on my screen, but I can't show you what things that pops up here. But if you're interested in how to bake mesh maps, there are really good tutorials on YouTube on how to do that. But that's what I do. And as you can see, everything's kind of tightly packed. These are all the armors in the game packed into one 4K texture. So as you can see, they're really tightly packed. But that's good for performance reasons, of course, to have as few and small textures as possible and still have them look good. So that's the idea. Then I have this smart material here in my shelf, which if you want to know how to create a smart material, when you've dragged something in, when you've dragged up in all your materials, you can just right click on the material and you can select create smart material. Okay, there's nothing on this material, so I can't create a smart material. But if you have anything, if you have any, I don't know what to call this, object with a lot of things under it, you can create a smart material from it. So that's what I've done, and I've created a master material. I've created 2 master materials. One master material for everything that's transparent, which there are no transparent things in here, so we're not going to use that. But that's for like bottles and stuff like that, which are transparent, because they are going to use a different shader and a different material in the game than this material. That's why I have them separated. So here's the master material. Just going to drag that in, and you're going to see the magic happen. It also looks weird when every item is equipped, I know. It's gonna look very weird when everything is equipped at the same time. But you know that it looks kind of decent in Unity. You can't equip every item at the same time, and this is why. This is the reason why you can't equip every item at the same time, because it looks a little bit crappers. So it's gonna take a little bit of time to drag in this material, because this material, as you can see, is kind of humongous. Because there's a gazillion things in it. An absolute gazillion things. But this is all I need to do now. If I make a change in this model, I can just export it to Substance Painter. I can paint it in less than an hour. I mean, I don't need to do much active work. The only thing that takes time here is to bake mesh maps. Because I need to bake these as 8K textures. That usually takes like 15 minutes or so on my computer to bake all the mesh maps. That takes a long time. A lot of time. So I can see that there's some issue with the horns here. I don't know why. Maybe I changed the material or something lately. That doesn't matter. As you can see, everything essentially falls into place now and looks decently good. All the colors, everything is just set up here. And all I do from this is just hit file. Oh, you can't see the file menu. Okay. You just export the textures on Unity. Even though there's no export for the standard pipeline, I'm using the standard pipeline, you can just export this as Unity Universal pipeline, because they use the same textures, except for the emission texture, which you're not gonna need. I guess you can just scrap that texture. But yeah, that's essentially the workflow. And then when you get into Unity, of course, we take away Substance Painter and go back into Unity. Unity, it looks like bloom, 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 and go to the. It can look like this. In the game, it looks like this. It looks pretty nice, I think. Make this a little bit bigger. So, it's always 20 minutes whenever I make a devlog. I'm thinking this is gonna be like 5 minutes. I have nothing to say. That's what I think. Well, I have a few things that I want to say, but not much. And it always takes 20 minutes for me to get that out. But hopefully you got something interesting from this, or entertaining, or something. I'll be back very soon with some items, some stats, some nerdy stuffs, some spreadsheets. I love spreadsheets. Hello, Daniel! And you are? It's me, the YouTube algorithm. And well, what are you doing here? I'm just here to take those views. No, those are my views. Oh, I can explain to you, senor. You see, you have subs 0%. And non-subs 100%. That's why you can take all your views. I guess it's time that you check out the little thing down there.